In your statement, you disagree with the FAA regarding the number of UAS near-miss reports with the FAA that are received by the FAA. Does AMA have a data collection and analysis program underway to collect near-miss reports from UAS users or airline pilots? And how does AMA substantiate your statement that the number of reports are actually much lower?
No, ma'am. AMA does not collect that data. We use FAA's list of pilot-reported and individually reported sightings of unmanned aircraft. And I think it's important to note that they didn't classify all of those as being what is termed near misses or near mid-air collision. They were termed, a very subjective term, as being close calls. And again, that is subjective and undefined. And to my knowledge, the FAA currently does not have a defined definition or a definitive definition of a near miss of a manned aircraft with an unmanned aircraft. So what we did in our analysis was to go strictly to the language in the sighting itself and only pulled out those ones or looked at those ones where the person reporting the sighting in their determination called it either a near miss or indicated they had to take some type of evasive action. Quite honestly, there's a large number of the sightings in there that couldn't even be termed near encounter of any kind because it wasn't even identified clearly as being an aircraft.
Do you have a suggestion for a definition of near miss then that should be standardized?
Well, if we're talking about a near miss between an unmanned aircraft and a manned aircraft, I believe that before you create that definition, you'll need to do some analysis of the environment that they operate in and the types of vehicles that we're talking about. As the captain cited, that we're talking about very slow-moving, very small objects that, when seen from the cockpit, it's very difficult to give it any type of relative value in terms of size, speed, and even its intentions in terms of where it's going to fly. So I think there needs to be some study done in terms of what actually would constitute a near miss, and that's probably more from the perspective of the pilot in terms of when and where and how he would be able to identify that object and to appropriately take action to make sure there's not any type of airspace conflict.
I would agree with you. If we're going to develop some common sense policy out of this committee, we need to have good data upon which to do that. So thank you for your suggestion. My next question is for Mr. Hubbard. Mr. Hubbard, I represent one of the most forested districts in the country. Although it isn't in Arizona, people don't think of Arizona as having that much forest. I'm sure you're very familiar with the horrific wildfires we have, and we're really trying to do something with prevention. And so my question is a little bit different from just suppression. What's the opportunity to use drones in fire prevention and in healthy forests?
They're very useful in terms of collecting the information and what we are dealing with on the land. So that kind of overflight to give us a good assessment of what's out there without taking all the time and expense to go find out on the ground is very helpful to us.
And then specifically back to suppression, how do you intend to use UAS in fire suppression efforts?
Well, primarily the situational awareness, keeping track of what's going on, where our crews are on the ground, how the fire is behaving, and making sure that nobody's in harm's way unnecessarily, and that we can have the right kind of communications with those crews in case they need to move and move quickly. It gives us a lot of advance warning.
You know, we had a tragic situation with the Yarnell fire where our firefighting crew did not know the direction of that fire, and it changed dramatically from what was being expected. Would UAS have been helpful to prevent that tragedy?
That's a difficult one to say. I would have liked to have had it available.
Thank you. I yield back.
Mr. Farenthold.
Thank you very much.